Alright, peace. I just thought I'd address your video here. I saw the other one as well, and I'll get to that too. But when you start saying that if science claims that all we are is a chemical reaction, then we have no purpose, I think you're mistaken. Because once you start asking questions as to the meaning of life, you're going away from the domain of science and into the domain of philosophy. Let me make this clear. Scientists ask how. Okay, scientists ask how. Philosophers, as well as us, we ask why. How and why are two very different questions. Now, explaining how we got here is a how question. And a how question deals with how, conclusions. And the conclusions end up being very unsatisfactory if you start going into the domain of why. And I think when you start saying that, if we're just a production of evolution, we have no purpose, I think you make a mistake when you say science has the end-all and be-all say of what our existence means. That's not true. Look into philosophies such as existentialism. There are lots and lots of ways of thinking as to how we should live our lives. And when you start getting into these questions, they're not scientific questions. A scientist will never, ever be able to tell you the meaning of your life. They just won't, because it's a subjective experience. Okay? It's a subjective experience. A scientist can't put your experiences in a little tube, look at them and say, well, this is what it means. Only you can decide what that means. Okay? Now, I'm going to go even further here. You say that these evolutionary things, you didn't say it, but you pretty much suggested it. It leads to kind of like a nihilistic type thinking. There is no meaning. We're just chemicals. Well, I would argue that you could also find Christians with nihilistic thinking. As a matter of fact, Christians have a history of exhibiting nihilistic behavior. Historically, before the Enlightenment, before secularization, the many religions would try or vie for position in place of government, for a position in power, and this led to violent conflict. If you don't believe me, just check out European history. And they fought each other, and they killed each other, because they thought that the Christian across the room from them didn't believe in the same Christ they did, same Christ they believed in. And, there were even some Spaniards who would kill infants because they thought they were doing the infant some good, because they thought that they were taking the infant out of a terrible, horrible world. When you look at Christian dogma, I shouldn't say dogma, Christian belief, it basically says that we're living in a fallen, dirty world, and that the only salvation we have is to look for meaning in the next life, meaning in heaven, meaning with Jesus. And to me, that sort of makes everything that we're presently doing meaningless. I think to say that there is no heaven or hell makes this a whole lot more meaningful, because we have very little time to work on, so we better make it count. You know what I mean? That means that if a child dies in Africa and isn't getting fed, he isn't going to heaven. He's just dead. Okay, so that means we need to help these people out, because they're suffering and there is no heaven, and they aren't going to be recompensed for it on the other side. It's not going to happen. So I think you could come up with an atheist worldview that says, look at everything around you, take it in, love it, love it, take all you can, and just appreciate it for what it is, whatever it is. Now, I just wanted to say that you can explain a lot of behavior through evolution. You can also explain religion through evolution. I want you to think for a moment. in the Old Testament, when there were laws such as, you know, don't have sex with so many people, don't get involved in orgies, you might say, well, those are good things to live by. But let's look at it a bit further. From an evolutionary perspective, why might it be good for a populace to believe that a God will punish them if they have sex with various people? The answer is, it keeps them away from disease. So they have a fear in their mind that God will punish them, when really it's serving the function of keeping them healthy. That's survival, but hidden. Hidden by metaphors and concepts. Okay? And same thing also works when in the Old Testament there's rules like, you know, don't eat such certain foods. Again, keeping you from disease. So religion has a very, you can see that in old times, religion had a very, it had a way of making the minds of different people coordinate in such a way that the population would keep itself alive. Okay? Now, I also want to say that, you know, past, you know, the 18th century, religion started becoming somewhat useless because of ideas such as science came along and said, oh, by the way, we can fix that whole disease thing, you know, through various methods. You don't need the religion thing anymore. And by the way, we should probably keep it out of our society too, because apparently a lot of people are killing each other over it. So anyways, coming to a personal, how does personal meaning come out of evolution? Well, I'll tell you. Think about groups of people before language got here. Now imagine that, you know, just like us, these beings had parents, they had siblings. Now let's suppose for a moment that one of these beings decided to kill another one that was close to a certain, let's call him Matt, a certain Matt that might have existed. And this Matt's brother was killed. Well, Matt is not going to just, you know, say, oh, whatever, my brother just died. I know, I've known him for, 7 years, and, you know, just forget it. Alright? This being is gonna go fucking just go ape shit and do something, alright? Now that's the way people used to respond. But then they found out that this probably can lead to chain reactions of people just killing people and just... So, society starts making laws and says, you can't kill this person because if you do, you yourself will be killed. Alright? And that's called negative reinforcement. It's a deterrent. You say, if you do this, then this will happen. You know? And let me tell you, no matter which way you cut it, as a human being, I know I don't like to be made fun of or called an idiot. I definitely don't think I'd like to be stabbed. And most of the people I know like to be treated well. Okay? They like praise. They like jokes to make them laugh, you know? Things that make them feel good, you know? And so what I'm saying is that's what life is about. It's about our interactions. It's about our relationships with other people. It's about the degree to which we are improving our own lives and others. And so evolution, to me, doesn't hurt any of that. The fact is we're here, and now that we're here, we need to respect one another. Okay? And I just don't see how you can say, oh, everything's meaningless, you know, because everything, you know, everything's chemical. So, no, that's the point is that science is a how question, you know, philosophy is a why question, and so is religion. And as far as one's own worldview, that's also a why question. And there are a lot of functioning nice atheists that function much better now in the 21st century than Christians did way back then. So with that, I will end my argument. Have a good one.